First things first, if your Nomad doesn't look like this, that's fine. You can change the color of the background here. Whoops. This is an autosave pop-up. Let's name this Crash Course, what is it, 316? 316. So you can change the color here to whatever you want. I have this purple, so you can move this around and change the color. You might see a grid. If you see a grid here, that's just the regular grid. So I'm going to be sculpting in orthographic, so that means without any perspective distortion. So that means if you go to this little camera here, I'm in orthographic and not perspective. It looks the same, but later on it might get a little confusing. So I always use orthographic to sculpt with. Also, I usually like to sculpt not with completely white, so I like to kind of change it. Yeah, I'll go to this little sun icon and then just change it to a matte cap. So that's like a fake, it's kind of like a fake color, fake lighting, but it's just easier to sculpt with. Let's go here to the scene menu and we'll add a sphere. And the sphere that's 98.3, I'm just going to delete. And this one is the sphere that we're going to work with. Okay, so really quickly, these are our tools right here. And you'll notice that a lot of tools are grayed out. Your tools might look like this. So this is just expanding this window. This is a gizmo. That's what you use. That's like your 3D controller. So that'll help you move around your 3D, whatever it is. So you have the arrows, you have the orange ring, which is the scale. And then you have these little spheres. Those just stretch. So you can stretch it. And then you have these rings, blue, green, red, and that just rotates it. So your gizmo is like your controller if you're playing a video game. Let's turn the wireframe off. We don't need it. And let's go to our file and save. You want to save often. It's better to save often. So let's bring in our reference image. So I'm just going to go here to this little picture. I'm going to go reference image. I'm going to tap on this little rascal. Import photos. And I want to import this little guy. So we'll import him. Now we want to move him. We don't really want him there. So we want to hit transform. And then we can move it around to exactly where we want it. I'm going to put it right here. And then I'm going to tap with one finger to go back to sculpting mode. So let's take this and like stretch it down a little bit. And maybe that can be like the top. So let's go to our scene. Let's add a cylinder. Okay, so we can use this orange ring to shrink it to like maybe it's around that size or so. I'm just going to hide the sphere. I'm going to hit the little eye. So instead of the gizmo, let's hit this little orange thing right here, right next to the gizmo. And it'll give us these 3 little nodes. So that just gives us more control over this shape. And of course, to undo and redo, undo is 2-finger tap, redo is 3-finger tap, or you can use these down here. I'll probably just make this a little wider here. Not too much. And obviously the head is short, so I'm just going to make this shorter like this. So that feels better. Maybe a little longer. We need room to put the eyes in and the little mouth. So one cool thing about Nomad is we haven't truly added this to our project yet. It's what you call a primitive. So a primitive is a very simple shape, but we haven't validated it yet. Once we validate, then it's an actual part of the project. Then we can use all these tools. So we're going to tap these 3 dots and we're going to put the post subdivision up to 2. Division X, we're going to bring down. We'll just scroll that down and see how that's kind of like softening up. So maybe something like that. I'm going to go back in and put the post subdivision up to 3. See how it looks a little blocky? I'm going to put it up to 3 just so it's more resolution. It'll be smoother. So I'm going to go ahead and validate this shape. So let's tap on scene again and we'll add another cylinder. Let's go to our gizmo. So our gizmo is here or it's here. Let's bring it down and let's use the orange ring to shrink it. So it's a little bit shorter than the body. Obviously we want to soften it up. So let's do the same exact thing that we did before. We'll tap these 3 dots. Post subdivision we'll put to And we'll just put it to 3. See how high it is? It's 168K, but that's okay because we're going to lower the division X. Or I'm putting the division X to 42 and the post subdivision to 2. I'm going to go ahead and validate that. I probably could have widened him out a little bit at the bottom. I think that looks better. So we'll validate that. I kind of want the top a little bit more round, you know? We might be able to smooth the top, or we could go into scene and like where we have this sphere. Oh no. Let's go to the gizmo for the sphere. I'm still always hitting the undo. So this is what I was thinking before. Like we can kind of like add this. The only thing I want to do is it's popping up a little bit. So it just needs to be like a flatter top. So we'll just leave it there for now. So this will be head, top. Okay, we'll go to this cylinder. So we'll just tap these 3 dots. Sometimes I realize I do something real fast, and then I have to make up for it by doing it again really slow. So we'll tap on the cylinder, and we'll tap name, and this will be head. So we have head top. We can tap on that and validate it. Head, and then cylinder, and this can be the body. So we'll tap there and just name it body. All right, so this is looking pretty good so far. So we want to make his little leggies, his little feet. Maybe cylinders and then like spheres underneath. Let's try that. I need to stop trying to go too into the details here and keep it simple. It's like it's so difficult for me because like everything I do is like I want to make it. I don't know. I just have this thing where everything has to be exactly perfect, and it really doesn't. Hit these 3 dots, post subdivision to 2, and then division X down. And we'll put post subdivision up 1 and see if we can go down 1 more. Now we'll leave it here. So that was post subdivision to 3 and division X to 12 with the little X. Let's leave it for now. So let's go to scene and add a sphere. And this sphere is going to be the bottom. I'm going to validate it. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to move it down. This is going to be the bottom of the leg. And let's use this green to like make it like round. That's another feature that like I'm so surprised that we don't have yet, is just where you can take a tube or take like one of these shapes and just make the bottom round. Like it just seems like it would be so simple. You know, like even if it's automatically putting another shape underneath, I feel like that would be so useful for the legs. Let's take the cylinder and let's validate it. Let's take the sphere and the cylinder and let's make them one piece. We'll go right next to the scene. We'll go to voxel. Bring that up to, we'll just do 140. And then we'll hit remesh. Multi-resolution will be lost. Okay. So now these are one piece here, and we'll just call it leg. So let's use the smooth tool. Let's make it a little bigger. Let's go to our little leg here, and let's just smooth it out. Keeping symmetry on so we don't have to do both sides. But now you can see it's nice and smooth. And actually, this might be a good time to test out that operation again. If we go here, we can probably smooth this a little more, right? I don't fully understand the smooth tool. I mean, it's cool, but... Okay, so there we go. It's a little round. So let's take the gizmo and let's shrink it with this orange ring, and then let's put it in this leg-ish position. So we'll just put it here. I have to look up the differences with 2.1 because I really have no idea. They're a little round. They're a little more round, right? They're a little more round. Let's see if I can smooth them out some more. I think I really like the smooth tool actually, or whatever this is, because it just makes it round like much easier. So let's put it here. It's like kind of to the side. I kind of want to make this a little more plump. I'm gonna take the move tool and maybe I can just like kind of plump this out a little bit. Just a smidge. So since this is 3D, I don't really want this leg to be that small, so I think I'm going to stretch the leg out a little bit, like that. So now we want to mirror this to the other side. So let's go up to our scene. Here we have the leg, and it's actually quite, let's just leave it. So we have the leg, let's do add, and then let's do mirror. Okay, so now it's still the one leg, but we've put it in a mirror, so now it's looking like it's on both sides. Let's go to the mirror, hit the 3 dots, and rename it legs. Or leagues. Let's take the legs and let's validate. So we're going to validate them, so now even though it's 2 legs, now it's just one piece. We'll take the body and the legs, and let's go next to scene, voxel. Let's voxel remesh it at like 145 or so. Now they're one piece, so let's go to smooth, make sure symmetry is on, and now we can smooth them as one piece. And we can make it a little more round, everything looks a little bit more together. And if you want to smooth it even more, you can voxel remesh it again at a lower resolution, and that will actually smooth it out a bit more. This is a shortcut to the voxel remesh, it's the same thing. It's just a shortcut. See how the numbers are moving in both places? But like if you bring it down, the resolution is going to be lower. So let's say we remesh that. So then the smooth is actually going to smooth out more because it's like lower resolution. If you try to remesh it at like 500 and try to smooth, it's not going to smooth as much because it's just a higher resolution. So that's good to know when you're trying to like smooth and something won't smooth. Let's take the head and the head top, and let's voxel remesh those together. So same thing, I'm going to use the little shortcut down here, but it's the same thing as up there. So I'm going to remesh, we'll stick to 145. So we'll remesh, so now they're one piece. Now we can take and smooth, and make sure symmetry's on, so everything is equal and balanced. Good, so one thing I noticed is my guy is a little too thin. So I'm going to take the head and the body, take the gizmo, and I'm just going to stretch him out until I feel that he's where he should be. So maybe right around there. Looks good to me. Okay, so let's make these arms. How do I want to make the arms? I feel like it's something with a sphere. And we'll just use the gizmo to move the arrows. And we'll shrink. Okay, so it's something like this. It looks like it's, the bottom is like this. We'll rotate a little bit. They're a little bit above the legs, so maybe something like that. So maybe a little bit stretched. And then maybe we can take, let's hit mirror. So that's going to put one on the other side as well. Let's validate. Let's use move. Since we're working on these little arms, we can go to symmetry and we can use local. We have show line on so we can see the line. And we'll change it from X to, so we can only see this line. So now we can kind of stretch it, and it just keeps it like a nice clean shape. If you notice mine, it doesn't have the same bend. I want to bend this part this way, but I also want to make it like round here, so I'm going to pull that part out so it's nice and round. So it's kind of just like a lot of push and pull, but I just want to keep it like nice and round and light and cute. Let's take the gizmo, and I want to move it directly to the right. So if you hit align and just move it straight in. But you can take a shape, you can use that shape to cut into other shapes. So let's take the body, and let's take the arms and let's validate those. That's fine. We can do join children. Let's rename it arms. So let's clone the body. So let's take the body and clone it. So now we have body 1. So let's hide the original body by just hitting this little eyeball. So now we have body 1 and arms. Body 1, we just want to hit this little eye. So they're still both selected, it's just the body 1 is hidden. If you have problems doing that, like if it won't let you just do that, hit advanced and Oh, this is different now. I think you might have to uncheck sync visibility. Just make sure it looks like mine, and it should work. Okay, so once you have this hidden, you can hit Boolean, Boolean, and now we can go back and we have the backup body that we can just bring back. So I want to go to the Symmetry tab. We'll just go to World, and we'll just switch it from Z to X. Yeah, there we go. So now it's just on both sides again. Let's hit solo and see what it looks like. It's still a bit weird, huh? You know what we want to do? I'm going to Vox Remix them real high. I'm going to Vox Remix them at like 400. See how smooth and nice that is? Actually, I did 400 and it didn't even get that high. It's interesting. So I'm going to smooth these arms out now. Hit solo again. Let's just use move. Let's do it the easy way. We'll just use move, and we'll just move this a little bit into the body. Let's keep going. Let's use a torus for the mouth. So let's hit add. Torus. I hope this works. And we'll use our gizmo. We'll move it up, and then we want to rotate it towards us. But let's hit snap. There's two snaps. We want the one with like the angle, 90. And then I want to rotate this red ring towards us. Boom. We can take snap off. I'm supposed to sand. So let me shrink this. Okay, and I'm going to put it down. That actually looks kind of cute. So now with the torus, what you can do is hit the little torus next to the gizmo. And let's take the little pink thingy and cut that in half. Actually, let's do it a little bit more. And then we just need to go back to the gizmo and rotate it. Like so. So it's a little bit of a bootleg way to do it, but I think it works. Let's do pivot center. That didn't really work. I guess it looks pretty straight. Just make sure you have it straight. And let's make it round before we do anything else. So let's make it round. So we'll tap the three dots. Post subdivision to 2. Division X. Down. Until it gets nice and round like that. Maybe we can up the post subdivision 1 to make it a little clearer. Let's take a look. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. And we can go back to the torus and we can still adjust it thicker. Oh yeah, we can use the little green thing to make it a little thicker if we want. I don't know why it looks weird to me. Sometimes you may have to go in and adjust adjust this, because it sort of like changes the shape a bit. So I have mine on 3 and I have this on 4. That looks pretty decent. So I'm going to validate this, and I want to bake it. So we're on the gizmo. We go to the gizmo settings and see this little croissant. Let's do the regular bake, and then let's do pivot, center, pivot. That's what we wanted to do. So I'm going to move that into the face. Maybe I'll make it a little smaller. Maybe I'll move it up a little bit, like so. I want to rotate it because I want it to be, oh, and I might flatten it too. I might flatten it, rotate it a little bit more. I wanted it to be like even on the face. That just feels better for me. All right, so now the eyes. Let's go add. Let's add a sphere. So we'll shrink this. We'll move it over, and we'll hit mirror. So let's move them there. Let's make them a little smaller, a little bit closer together. I think that matches up pretty well. So now let's move these in halfway. So let's take this mirror and let's validate it. And this will be eyes. So let's clone the eyes. So now we have eyes and eyes 1. We can hide the regular eyes. We'll take eyes 1. We'll take head top. And then we'll hide eyes 1. Boolean, Boolean. So now we have that. We can unhide the regular eyes and see how they're in there. And it looks terrible, but that's okay. I'm going to Vox remesh the head at like 150. So we'll voxel remesh the head. Again, that's going here, voxel, and bringing the resolution up to, let's try like 250. Let's smooth. That's what I want. Except for the only problem is the eyes are a little too, they bug out too much. The eyes are bugging. So another way to solve the problem is to just take trim and just trim one side. So I'm gonna turn symmetry off. I'm just gonna trim this eye. So now there's only one eye. So we'll go to Gizmo, pivot, center, pivot. Okay. And I'm actually gonna rotate it, because when I squish it, I want it to squish like this, not like this. I want it to squish like that. And then we can kind of squash it like this. So this is kind of like however you want to do it. But I really like that. And now I can take this, add, mirror, boom. And then we can just take both of them and validate them. And then it's like it was before. Eyes. If you have quad remesher, you can go through with quad remesher and you can decimate. I heard that quad remesher is now on Android as well. I heard. I don't really know, but I heard. Mouth still feels a little big to me, but that's an easy fix. I'm going to hit save. Let's switch it from a matte cap back to lit PBR. So we'll go to the little sun. We'll switch from matte cap to lit PBR. It should turn white. And now I just want to make it a neutral color. So you can go to the paint and you can just choose a neutral color. Oh, go to scene and select everything. Then go back to your color. And you can select a neutral color. Maybe like, I'll do something like this. I like to do like a terracotta type color. We'll hit paint all. Let's go to this little sun icon. Let's turn the environment off. So now it's going to be all black. And we'll go back to this little sun icon and we'll add our first light. So light number 1, let's rename it key. So this is our key light, the main light of the scene. I like to hit a line so I can just move the lights more easily. So we're using directional lights. So it doesn't matter where they are on the screen. All that matters is the direction of this little white arrow here. And I like to actually leave it where it is when you add it. As long as the character is facing forward, this light is usually in a really great spot. So I don't need to rotate it because I like it to be in the default position. I want to put the intensity up to like maybe a little bit over 2 or so. Looks nice. So now we'll go here and, oops. We can clone the key light. We'll move it over to the other side and down a little bit. And that's just so the lights don't get confused, so they're not on top of one another. I want to take the rings and I want to rotate. Whoop. Let's go to the little sun. Icons. Let's turn the icons on. See this? Icons. So let's hit this one so we don't, the icons is just so if we click off of it, we don't have to go back to the menu. I want to use the red ring. And this one is just an edge light. So I want to make a nice crisp edge. See that edge? That's all I want. And maybe I'll raise this up to like, maybe 5 or so. Okay, oh, I think that looks nice. There you go. You have a little bit here too. So that's a nice edge light or rim light. Perfect. So let's go back to the little sun. And one thing I want to do, well, let's rename it with a little pencil. This will be edge. And one thing I want to do is tap on the little info here, or the little 3 dots. And I want to, let's see, where is it at? Attachments, camera. Boom. We go here now, attachments, oops, edge, attachment, camera. Okay. So now we can, what do we want to do? Let's add another light. Let's name this one R2. Same kind of light. I'm just going to point this white arrow, and I just want to add some light over here. See, this would be a rim light, but I want to add a little bit more. So it's something like that. Maybe we want to put a little temperature to it. You can tap here and you can change the temperature. Maybe we'll make it a little warmer, like so. And let's add another light, like kind of facing his face. Gotta be careful of that undo. It's killing me. Okay, so now let's add another light. Let's name this one D2, R2D2. So this light, let's change it to, let's tap directional and change it to spot. So now it's a spotlight. So wherever that spotlight is pointing, that's where the light's going to go. So let's move it up, over a little bit, maybe a little higher, point it down. Yeah, so maybe we want to just kind of have it pointed at his face a little bit. You can use this little orange node to make it a little wider. I think that looks good. Maybe we'll put a little bit more to it. So now there's just another little light on his face. I like it. I want to put him directly in the middle. I'm going to hit front. I want to save this position right around here. So I'm going to hit this little camera and I'm going to hit add view and hit the little pencil and just hit 1. So now if I'm farting around and I want to get back to the view I had, I can just go boom. I can just go to 1. Okay. I'm so slow. I'm extraordinarily slow. So now let's take everything in the scene menu and let's make it white. Actually, yeah, let's make it white. That's fine. So we'll do paint all. We'll make it white. We'll figure out what colors we need. So let's go to the little shutter thing and let's move this up to, let's move the quality up. Let's put on post-process. So we put on post-process. This is what I have if you want to match what I have. I love global illumination. I'm going to move that up. These look a little crazy. I'm going to move this down a bit. I don't mind that being up a little bit, but it's looking crazy. So this is like the ambient lighting, shadows and stuff like that. Okay. I think that's fine. Let's go back to this little sun, and I forgot to turn on the environment. So we'll turn on the environment. That's very bright. This is my own custom one that you can get on like Gumroad or Patreon or something. But there's all these other lighting, but I just like to use my particular one. So I want to turn this down because I still want to see some of those shadows. They just don't need to be like crazy shadows. I think that looks okay, but he still looks a little funny. I think it might be some of these settings. Yeah, let's put the curvature down a little bit. Sometimes you just have to go through these little settings and just figure out what works and what doesn't. Okay, I think that looks a little bit more natural. So let's go to the eyes. Let's paint them a glossy black. So we'll just tap here. We'll go to black, and then we want to make it glossy, so we want to turn the roughness down, like so. And let's hit paint all. The mouth, I don't think I want it glossy, but it can be black, so let's bring the roughness up. You can see a little demo there. Maybe to right around there. We'll hit paint all. Then the only difference is these reflections with Nomad, that's gonna depend on your environment. So right now we're using this environment. So if I make this a little bit brighter, those white spots might get a little bit brighter. I can probably rotate it to kind of change them, but it's not going to look exactly, it's all dependent on whatever the environment is. I think we need a little bit more of exposure here. And there's lots of things you can do with him. You know, you can kind of play around and just kind of experiment. You can give him different arm positions. Maybe I'll add let's do a tube. Okay, we'll turn it to the side and shrink it. Shrinky, shrinky. Let's stretch it out. Let's add a little sphere. You can never go wrong with like a little sphere detail. Oh, also, let's turn off post-process. That is the silliest way to sculpt with post-process on. Maybe we'll do it around this size. We'll move it back to about here. Let's take this little thing. Let's use move. Let's give this a nice little bend. I'm so like not technical when I'm sculpting. Okay, maybe we'll take this. Should this be black or should the little other thing be black? So now he's got a little thingamajig. We'll validate that. Maybe we want to put it a little bit further back. You know what else I like to do? I like to do with tube. Let's do path. I'm very upset at the frickin' tube tool snap thingy that was like so useful, now not being useful. It's very, very upsetting. I just want to make a swirl. Frickin' white dot is there and it won't let me tap the green dot. Let's make this post subdivision 2. Bring this down so that it's like a cuter one. Have snap so it's snapping to the surface of the body. I like that. I'm just going to validate it. And this is going to be the swirly. I'm not sure how it got stuck on the body, but this is going to be swirly. And you know what? Maybe it's black. Why not? It's a little off center, isn't it? Let's move it over. There we go. And yeah, now I'm just kind of going crazy adding little details that I don't need to add. I'm going to clone this. I'm going to move it up, shrink it. I think this is what I like more than Blender. I like in this program, I feel like I have the ability to just kind of flow and just make weird random things because they're just way more easier to make. Because like I feel like I'm just drawing. So let's make one of these things. Let's take drag and kind of like, let's make it a little bit like, I don't know, yeah. We'll make it something like that. And then we'll add a mirror. We'll validate. We'll save. We'll turn the grid off. I'm going to turn the image off. I like to line it up with that little white thing on the iPad. So we'll put it there. I'll hit front. I'm going to add another view. We'll call this one 2. There's save. If you want to export the image, go down to render. You can do screen. If you don't want the purple, you can do transparent background, but just do screen or one of these, and then just do export. And if you export it, oh, I wanted to show you something. Oh, you know why? Because I didn't have post-process. Let's go back to post-process and turn that on. Up here is max frame sampling. Mine's at 350, but this is the same number that if you hit screen and you hit export, this is going to count to 350. So it's the same number. It's just a number of samples, which means the number of like, you know, it's like compiling that number of whatevers and just that's the quality. And then you can just send it to wherever. I'm going to send this to my computer. And then I always do a turntable. I want to do a turntable, I just tap here. Well, here is where I use on my iPad. I do the screen record, and then I hit turntable, and then I get the nice screen record. So then I can jump from this video into this video. Oh, so I am going to want to bring this into Blender. So essentially, when I bring it over into Blender, there's like a set spot that I want it to be. So that's where the grid comes back into play. Where's the red line? The red line's up here. So I'm going to take everything. So I'm going to want the feet to be, so this is going to be the ground. So the first thing I do is I move it there. And then I go through and some things I just don't need them to be such high resolution. So for example, the head. So I'm probably going to use quad remesher. So with quad remesher, right now it's 190K, and this is like such a simple shape that it doesn't need to be this dense. Let's try 10K, and let's just see what happens. I don't think it does. I think it looks fine. And now it's only 9,000. So there, we saved a lot of space. Anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out, you guys chatting with me. It's really fun to do live streams because I'm not that much of a social person. So, but with live streams, it's different. I think it's because like I love doing this stuff. So it's like easy to just like explain what's on my mind and what I'm thinking. So I'm glad that has some sort of value in some people. Bedtime baby, appreciate you guys. What's up guys? Thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and also check out my Skillshare. I have a brand new class. It's going to be the full pipeline of Nomad Sculpt to Blender. So this is a great class if you've been working in Nomad for a while and you're ready to bring it to that next step with beautiful Blender renders. If I could tell my younger self one thing, it'd be not to follow all the rules when it comes to art and creativity. Blah, 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 yakety smackety. It's so easy to get caught up in how things should be or have been. That kind of thinking, obsolete. My name is Dave Reed. I'm a 3D artist and content creator living in Brooklyn, New York, and I've been a 2D traditional artist all of my life and recently discovered a love for 3D sculpting and 3D animation. You might have come across some of my pretty incredible children's books, including The Dream Machine, or my social media collabs with the American Museum of Natural History. You might recognize my creative visual time lapses on both YouTube and Instagram. 3D sculpting inspires me because it allows me to bring my art to life in a whole new way. Learning the technical aspects of Nomad and Blender is kind of a natural progression and allows me to bring my creativity to the next level. Today we're learning a complete workflow from Nomad Sculpt to Blender. We're learning to take our sculpts to the next level and beyond. We're going to bridge this gap from the ground up. And today's project is going to be a robot. Who doesn't love robots? Especially cute ones. Just saying. We'll make a quick model in Nomad, which we will then export over into Blender. It'll be a complete pipeline to Blender, which will give you greater control over your sculpt and your render. You can easily follow along at home with your iPad or Android tablet for Nomad Sculpt. You'll need Blender with a Mac or PC computer. I'm excited to teach this class because we're on the frontier of using Nomad Sculpt as a starting point for Blender. The 3D landscape has changed so dramatically. I love pushing the envelope, that constant forward motion of artistic technology. By the end of this class, I hope you walk away with some new tools, new inspiration, and new ideas. All right, let's get started.
And like that,